The spaceship USS Intrepid moved slowly through the darkness of space. Inside the ship, Commander Eric Taylor looked out the large window at the stars. Today was a big day for all humans. Today they would meet aliens for the first time. "Are you ready, Commander?" asked Lieutenant Samantha Reeves. She stood next to him, her hands behind her back. "As ready as I'll ever be," Eric said. He fixed his uniform and took a deep breath. "Is the meeting room prepared?" "Yes, sir. The alien ship has sent a message. They will dock with us in 10 minutes. Eric nodded. Humans had been searching for alien life for hundreds of years. Now the Zarellian Alliance had found them instead. 7 different alien species working together had reached out to Earth 6 months ago. After many messages back and forth, they had agreed to meet in person. The ship shook slightly as the alien vessel connected to the Intrepid. Eric and Samantha walked to the airlock with 5 other crew members. Everyone was quiet. The only sound was their boots on the metal floor. "Remember," Eric said to his team, "be polite, be careful, and follow the plan." The airlock door opened with a hiss. Standing on the other side were 5 creatures unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The tallest was Ambassador Krell, who looked like a giant insect walking on 2 legs. His skin was hard and shiny, with 4 arms and large eyes that didn't blink. Behind him were aliens that looked like blue plants, floating jellyfish, and creatures with fur and scales. "Welcome to the USS Intrepid," Eric said with a small bow. "I am Commander Eric Taylor of Earth." Ambassador Krell moved his upper arms in what might have been a greeting. "We accept your welcome, Commander of Earth. The Zarellian Alliance is pleased to begin formal relations with your species."
Intendere malåla det mapamastäcket hallar upp sjukdambe. Ervahistyrer keipana kick och slös att tänka på. Make it at maybe open for idea of Rishida it at ham. Kurhuda he that in tape flickner and
Dr. Lisa Ward, their expert on alien biology, was taking notes on a small computer. "We have prepared information about our world and culture," Eric said, pushing a small device across the table. "This contains data about Earth, our history, and our people." Ambassador Krell reached for the device with one of his lower arms. "We are most interested in learning about..." A small brown shape suddenly ran across the table. The ferret named Whiskers, the ship's unofficial pet, had escaped from the science lab again. Before anyone could react, the small animal darted between the devices on the table, knocking over a cup of water. The aliens jumped back from the table. Ambassador Krell made a high-pitched sound that might have been fear or disgust. The blue plant-like alien quickly moved to the far wall. "I apologize," Eric said, standing up. "It's just a small animal. It won't harm you." Samantha moved quickly, reaching out and scooping up the ferret in one smooth motion. The animal squirmed in her hands, but then calmed down as she gently stroked its back. There, Whiskers, you're not supposed to be here," she said softly, running her fingers through the animal's fur. The room went completely silent. All the aliens were staring at Samantha's hands as she petted the ferret. Ambassador Krell's large eyes seemed even wider than before. What are you doing to that creature?" the ambassador asked, his voice strange and tight. Samantha looked confused. "Just petting him. He's a ferret. Some of us keep them as pets." "You willingly touch this other species? For pleasure?" another alien asked, the jellyfish-like one floating slightly higher now. Eric and Samantha exchanged looks. This wasn't the reaction they expected. "Yes, of course," Dr. Ward said. "Humans keep many animals as companions. We pet them to show affection and to bond with them. They enjoy it too." Ambassador Krell's forearms moved in complicated patterns. The other aliens were making sounds in their own languages. "This is most unexpected," Krell finally said. "We must understand this bizarre ritualistic behavior immediately. It is not in any of our data about potential intelligent species." Eric realized that their first real cultural exchange with aliens wasn't going to be about technology, art, or history. It was going to be about why humans like to pet fuzzy animals. The meeting room had turned into something very different than planned. The large table was now pushed to one side. Dr. Lisa Ward stood in the center with screens showing pictures of Earth animals. The alien visitors sat or floated in a half circle, watching with a mix of horror and wonder. So humans keep these creatures in their living spaces? Willingly? Asked Ambassador Krell. He pointed one of his 4 arms at a picture of a golden retriever. Yes, Dr. Ward said. Dogs have lived with humans for thousands of years. They help us hunt, protect our homes, and give us companionship. The picture changed to show a young boy hugging a large dog. And human children touch them too? The blue plant-like alien, whose name was Zeph, moved back slightly. Is this not dangerous? Samantha smiled. Most pets are gentle, especially with children. We train them and care for them. The next picture showed a woman holding a snake. The jellyfish alien Morva made a sound like water bubbling. That creature has no fur. You touch the smooth ones too? Humans keep many types of animals as pets, Dr. Ward explained. Mammals, with fur, reptiles with scales, birds with feathers. Some people even keep spiders or insects. At the mention of insects, Ambassador Krell's antennae twitched. As a being who looked somewhat like a giant insect himself, he seemed unsure how to feel about this. Commander Eric watched from the side of the room. This meeting was not going as planned, but it was still going well. The aliens were learning something important about humans, even if it wasn't what anyone expected. In our cultures, said the furry alien named Grex, touching other species is considered improper or dangerous. Most species in the Alliance avoid physical contact even with each other. That's fascinating, Dr. Ward said, making notes on her tablet. For humans, touch is very important. We shake hands when we meet. Parents hold their children. Friends may hug, and most of us enjoy petting animals. But why? Ambassador Krell asked, his large eyes fixed on Whiskers, who was now sleeping in a small cage nearby. What do you gain from this behavior? Dr. Ward thought for a moment. It makes us feel good. It makes the animals feel good too. Touching releases chemicals in our brains that create feelings of happiness and connection. You form emotional bonds with non-sentient creatures? Morva asked, floating a little closer now. Yes, Samantha said. Many humans consider their pets to be part of their family. The aliens talked among themselves in their own languages. The humans waited, wondering what they were saying. Finally, Ambassador Krell turned back to face the humans. We have discussed this matter. The Xyrelian Alliance has decided to classify this as a unique human trait. We will call it tactile xenophilia, the desire to touch and form bonds with other species. Eric stepped forward. Is this a problem for our future relations? Not a problem, Krell said. But a curiosity we must study further. In all our explorations, we have never encountered a species that behaves this way. The meeting continued with more questions. The aliens wanted to know everything about human pets. How many species did humans keep? Did they all live in human homes? Did humans talk to their animals? By the end of the day, Dr. Ward had shown hundreds of pictures: dogs, cats, hamsters, parrots, lizards, snakes, and even tarantulas. With each new animal, the aliens seemed both more confused and more interested. As the aliens prepared to return to their ship, Ambassador Krell approached Commander Eric privately. Commander, tomorrow we would like to see more of this pet behavior. Several members of our delegation are secretly fascinated, though they would not admit it publicly. Eric nodded. We can arrange that. We have several crew members who brought pets on this mission. Good, said Krell. And perhaps I might observe this petting more closely. For diplomatic purposes only, of course. Eric tried not to smile. Of course, Ambassador, for diplomacy. Captain Alan Morris sat in his office looking at the reports from the first 2 days of meetings with the aliens. He had not expected the aliens to be so interested in pets, but now he saw an opportunity. A pet diplomacy initiative, he said, to Commander Eric and Lieutenant Samantha, who sat across from him. We can use this to build better relations with the Xyrelian Alliance. What exactly do you have in mind, Captain? Eric asked. We bring more animals on board, show the aliens how humans interact with different species. It could help them understand us better, Captain Morris explained. Samantha nodded. The aliens are already curious. Ambassador Krell asked to see more pet interactions today. Good, the captain said. Make it happen. Talk to all crew members who brought pets. We'll set up a special room where the aliens can observe safely. Later, that day the special room was ready. Several crew members had brought their pets on the long space mission. There was now a small dog, 2 cats, a parrot, and even a bearded dragon lizard. Whiskers the ferret was there too. The alien delegation entered the room carefully. They stayed close to the walls at first, watching the humans play with the animals. Communications officer Olivia Grant was there with her orange cat, Max. She noticed one of the aliens, a small Maori who looked a bit like a cat herself, staring at Max with wide eyes. Would you like to come closer? Olivia asked the Maori. The alien looked around as if checking if others were watching, then moved closer. Your species looks like mine, she said quietly. Yes, there is a resemblance, Olivia agreed. His name is Max. Would you like to see how he reacts when I pet him? The Maori nodded. Olivia gently stroked Max's back. The cat began to purr loudly. What? Is that sound? The Maori asked, her ears twitching. It's called purring. It means he's happy, Olivia explained. Cats purr when they feel safe and content. Across the room, Dr. Ward was showing Ambassador Krell how to offer a treat to Whiskers, the ferret. The ambassador held out the small piece of food with the tips of his claws. Whiskers quickly took it and ate it. It did not bite me, Krell said, sounding surprised. He knows you're trying to be nice, Dr. Ward said. Animals can sense intentions, often better than humans can. Slowly, the aliens began to interact more with the pets. The blue plant-like alien, Zeph, watched in fascination as the bearded dragon climbed on a crew member's arm. The jellyfish alien Morva floated near the parrot, listening to it mimic human words. Later, Olivia was talking with some of the aliens when she noticed something interesting. The Maori was whispering to another alien. In my culture, the Maori said very quietly, we are taught that touching other species is wrong. But watching these humans, I feel curious. Is it the same for you? The other alien nodded slightly. The elders would not approve, but I find myself wanting to try it. Olivia pretended not to hear, but she made a note to tell Commander Eric about this conversation. It seemed that some aliens were more interested in human ways than they wanted to admit. By the end of the day, something important had happened. For the first time, humans and aliens were sharing something real, not just words and information, but feelings and experiences. Captain Allen was watching from the doorway. This is working better than I hoped, he said to Commander Eric. The pet diplomacy initiative might be our best way to connect with them. I think you're right, Eric agreed. But there's something else happening too. I think we're learning as much about them as they are about us. As they watched, Ambassador Krell carefully reached out one finger toward Whiskers. The ferret sniffed the alien's hand, then allowed a very brief touch on its head. It was a small moment, but in the story of humans and aliens meeting for the first time, it felt like something big. The pet diplomacy initiative had been going well for 3 days. Many of the aliens were now comfortable around the smaller Earth animals. Some had even tried petting the cats and dogs themselves. But not everyone was happy about this new friendship between humans and aliens. Commander Eric was in the meeting room when a new group of aliens came aboard the ship. These were the Varroks, a species that was part of the Xyrelian Alliance but had not visited before. They looked dangerous, with tough skin and sharp spines on their arms and backs. We have heard about this human behavior, said the leader of the Varroks. His name was Draz, and he was taller than the other aliens. We do not believe that humans can truly pet anything as you claim. Ambassador Krell seemed nervous. The humans have shown great skill with many creatures, he said. Draz made a sound like rocks falling. It might have been a laugh. Small, weak creatures, pets bred to be soft. This proves nothing. Captain Allen stepped forward. We don't claim to pet anything, just animals that are friendly or can be trained. Then you admit there are limits to human abilities, Draz said. His spine seemed to stand up straighter. We thought so. The room was quiet. Everyone could feel that this was a challenge. The Variks were testing the humans. What do you suggest? Commander Eric asked carefully. Draz looked at the other Variks, then back at the humans. If humans are so special in their ability to touch other species, let them attempt to pet a Krivashi beast. The other aliens in the room made sounds of surprise. Ambassador Krell's antennae went completely still. A Krivashi? Dr. Ward asked. She had been studying the database of alien animals. The large predator from the outer planets? Yes, said Draz. The most dangerous non-sentient creature known in our part of the galaxy. They have killed hundreds of our people. No one approaches them by choice. Eric looked at Captain Allen. They both knew this was more than just a challenge about pets. It was a test of human courage and ability. Security Chief Greg Ryan spoke up from the back of the room. I accept the challenge. Everyone turned to look at him. Greg was tall and strong, but he was still just a human facing an alien monster that even the Variks feared. Greg, we don't have to do this, Captain Allen said quietly. With respect, sir, I think we do, Greg replied. The Variks are testing us. If we say no, they'll lose respect for all humans. Dr. Ward stepped closer. Do you understand what a Krivashi is? The database says they're massive predators with multiple limbs and they secrete an acid-like substance. They're extremely territorial. Which is why I should go, Greg said. I've worked with dangerous animals on Earth. I was part of a wildlife rescue team before joining the space program. Commander Eric looked at the aliens. The Variks seemed pleased with themselves, sure that the humans would fail. The other aliens looked worried. Very well, Eric said finally. We accept your challenge, but we'll need time to prepare. Draz nodded. 3 days. We will bring a Krivashi beast to a secure location. Your human can attempt to pet it. He said the word pet like it was something strange. After the aliens left, Captain Allen called for an emergency meeting. We need to learn everything we can about these Krivashi creatures, he told his team. Greg's life will depend on it. The Variks are setting us up to fail, Samantha said. They want to humiliate us in front of the Alliance. Greg stayed calm. Then we'll just have to surprise them. I'll need help from everyone, especially Dr. Ward and her team. As they left the meeting, Commander Eric stopped Greg. Are you sure about this? No one would blame you for saying no. Greg smiled slightly. Humans have always connected with animals, even dangerous ones. It's one of our special skills. If the Variks want to see what humans can do, I'll show them. The next 2 days on the USS Intrepid were very busy. Everyone was working to help Greg prepare for the Krivashi challenge. In a large room that was normally used for exercise, wildlife specialist Kyle Winters had set up screens showing all the information they had about the Krivashi beasts. They're big, Kyle said, pointing to a diagram. About the size of a small car. 6 legs, tough outer skin, and 2 sets of eyes, one for day vision, one for night. Greg nodded, studying the images carefully. What about their behavior? How do they act when threatened? That's where it gets interesting, Kyle said. I've been watching all the videos the aliens gave us. I don't think the Krivashi are as aggressive as everyone believes. Dr. Ward joined them carrying more data tablets. Kyle might be right. Look at this footage. They watched a video of a Krivashi attacking some alien researchers. The creature moved fast, slashing with its front legs. See that? Kyle pointed. It's not trying to eat them. It's trying to make them go away. It's territorial, not hungry. Greg smiled slightly. That's good news. Territorial animals are easier to handle than predators looking for food. In another part of the ship, engineer Michelle Patterson was working on a special suit. It had thick padding and clear plastic parts. The suit needs to protect you from the acid secretions, she explained when Greg came to check on her progress. But it also needs to let you move freely. And most importantly, you need to be able to touch the Krivashi through it. How will that work? Greg asked. Michelle held up some thin gloves. These have special sensors. You'll feel pressure and texture, but not heat or chemicals. It's the best I can do. Greg tried on the gloves. These will work. Thank you. Meanwhile, Commander Eric and Ambassador Krell were talking in the command room. Your human is very brave, Krell said. But bravery will not be enough. No one has ever touched a Kravashi and lived. Humans have a special connection with animals, Eric said, even dangerous ones. Throughout our history, we've worked with creatures that could easily kill us. Like what? Krell asked, his large eyes blinking slowly. Tigers, bears, sharks, venomous snakes, Eric listed. We study them, understand them, and find ways to work with them safely. Krell made a sound that might have been doubt. He said, playing a recording. It was a low rumbling sound, almost too deep to hear. What is it? Captain Allen asked. It's a sound Kravashi make when they're calm, Kyle explained. I found it in some old recordings. I think they use different sound frequencies to communicate with each other. Greg leaned forward. So if we could make that sound, exactly, Kyle said. It might calm the Kravashi down. I've made a small device that can play this sound. You can carry it with you. Dr. Ward looked concerned. It's still extremely dangerous. Even with the suit and the sound, you'll be facing a creature that has killed hundreds. Greg nodded. I know. But I've been watching the videos too. The Kravashi reminds me of the Komodo dragons I worked with on Earth. Dangerous, yes. But not evil or mindless. That night, as the ship was quiet, Olivia Grant found Greg in the observation room, looking out at the stars. Are you scared? She asked. Yes, Greg admitted, but also curious. Humans have always faced the unknown, new lands, new oceans, new planets, and now, new creatures. The Varroks think you'll fail, Olivia said. Greg smiled. Maybe, but I think they misunderstand what humans are really good at. We don't conquer nature, we connect with it. The next morning, the human team prepared to travel to the testing facility. The Varroks had set up a special containment area on a nearby space station. The Kravashi was already there, waiting. The testing facility was large and cold. Metal walls rose high around a central area the size of a basketball court. Above this space were thick glass windows where the aliens and humans could watch safely. The Varroks looked confident. The other aliens seemed worried. The humans tried to appear calm. Greg stood in a small room next to the main area, putting on the special suit Michelle had made. It was light but strong, with clear parts so he could see in all directions. Kyle helped him check all the pieces. The sound device is in your right pocket, Kyle said. It will play automatically, but you can make it louder by pressing here. Greg nodded. He put on the special gloves last. They were thin enough that he could feel things, but strong enough to protect him from the Kravashi's acid. Commander Eric came in. The Varroks are ready, are you? As ready as I'll be, Greg said. He took a deep breath. Let's do this. The door to the main area opened. Greg walked in slowly. The room was empty except for some rocks and a pool of water in one corner. There was another door on the far side. Greg moved to the center of the room and stood still. He could hear his own breathing inside the suit. He looked up at the windows where everyone was watching. A loud noise came from the far door. It opened, slowly. At first, nothing happened. Then something large and dark moved in the shadows. The Kravashi was bigger than Greg expected. It was the size of a small car, with 6 powerful legs and tough, bumpy skin that was grayish-green. Its head had 2 sets of eyes, large yellow ones on top and smaller blue ones below. When it opened its mouth, Greg could see rows of small, sharp teeth. Greg stayed very still. The Kravashi moved forward slowly, its legs making soft tapping. Sounds on the floor. It stopped about 30 feet away and made a low rumbling noise. "It's warning me," Greg said quietly into the microphone in his suit, "telling me this is its territory." The Kravashi moved its head from side to side, looking at Greg with both sets of eyes. Greg remembered what Kyle had told him. Don't stare directly at it. That's a challenge to many animals. Greg looked down and to the side, keeping the Kravashi in his side vision. He pressed the button to start the calming sound device in his pocket. The deep, rumbling sound began to play. The Kravashi's head tilted slightly. It made a similar sound back, quieter than before. Very slowly, Greg knelt down to make himself smaller. He kept his hands visible but low. The Kravashi took a step forward, then another. It was now 20 feet away. Greg could hear sounds of worry from the watchers above, but he stayed focused on the creature. "I'm going to move now," Greg said into the microphone. Very slowly, he took one small step to the side, not toward the Kravashi, but not away either. The creature watched him but didn't attack. Greg took another step, making a small circle. The Kravashi followed him with its eyes but seemed less tense. After a few minutes of this slow movement, Greg stopped again. The Kravashi was now 15 feet away. "I'm going to try something," Greg said. He slowly reached into a pocket and took out a small container. Inside was a plant that the aliens said Kravashi sometimes ate. He opened it and placed it on the ground, then backed away. The smell reached the Kravashi. It moved forward cautiously, keeping its eyes on Greg. When it reached the food, it used one front leg to touch it, then quickly ate it. Greg waited. The Kravashi finished eating and looked at him again. It made another rumbling sound, but different, this time less threatening. "I think it's curious now," Greg said, "not just territorial." He very slowly took another step closer. The Kravashi didn't back away. Greg kept moving, one tiny step at a time. The calming sound device continued to play the deep rumbling noise. After what felt like hours but was really about 20 minutes, Greg was just 10 feet from the massive creature. He could see the acid glistening on its skin. He could hear its breathing. Above them, the aliens and humans watched in complete silence. Greg stood 10 feet away from the Kravashi. He could feel sweat on his face inside the helmet of his suit. The creature watched him with all four of its eyes. The large yellow ones on top seemed to track his movements, while the smaller blue ones below looked at his hands. "I'm going to try to get closer," Greg said quietly into his microphone. "It seems calm now." He took another small step forward. The Kravashi's skin rippled slightly, and Greg could see more acid appearing on its surface. He stopped moving. "It's getting defensive again," he said. "I need to show it I'm not a threat." Greg remembered something he had learned when working with large predators on Earth. He slowly lowered himself to his knees, then sat down on the floor. Now he was much smaller than the Kravashi, less threatening. The creature tilted its head. The acid on its skin seemed to dry up a little. "That's it," Greg said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." He knew the Kravashi couldn't understand his words, but animals often responded to the tone of voice. Greg turned up the volume on the calming sound device slightly. The Kravashi made a similar rumbling sound in response. Then, to everyone's surprise, it lowered its body to the ground. Not all the way. It kept its legs ready to move, but it was no longer standing at full height. Greg smiled inside his helmet. "It's mirroring me. That's a good sign." He stayed still for several minutes, letting the Kravashi get used to his presence. Then, very slowly, he extended one hand, palm down toward the floor, not reaching for the creature, just showing his hand. The Kravashi watched the hand carefully. Its front leg twitched slightly, but it didn't move away or attack. Up in the viewing area, everyone was completely silent. The Varroks were leaning forward, their spines raised in surprise. Ambassador Krell's four arms were frozen in mid-gesture. The humans hardly dared to breathe. "I'm going to move closer," Greg said. He inched forward on his knees, keeping low. The Kravashi watched but remained still. At 5 feet away, Greg stopped again. He was close enough now to see details of the creature's skin, the tough plates that protected it, the small vents where the acid came out, the subtle rise and fall as it breathed. "One more try," Greg said. He reached out his gloved hand again, this time holding it in the air between them. The Cravashi looked at the hand with all four eyes. Then, slowly, it extended one of its front legs toward Greg's hand. Time seemed to stop. The leg moved closer and closer to Greg's hand. When they were just inches apart, Greg held perfectly still. The Cravashi touched Greg's gloved fingertips with the end of its leg. The touch was gentle, almost curious. Greg didn't move. After a few seconds, the Cravashi pulled its leg back, then touched Greg's hand again, this time pressing a little harder. "It's testing me," Greg whispered, "seeing what I'll do." He let the Cravashi touch his hand several times. Then very carefully he turned his hand over, palm up. The Cravashi looked at this new position with interest. It reached out and placed the end of its leg in Greg's palm, moving with extreme slowness. Greg closed his fingers slightly, giving the gentlest possible pressure to the Cravashi's leg, just enough to be felt through the special gloves. The Cravashi didn't pull away. Instead, it made a new sound, softer than before, almost like a purr. "I'm petting it," Greg said, his voice filled with wonder. "I'm actually petting a Cravashi." In the viewing area, someone gasped. The Varrocs were making angry clicking sounds. The other aliens were talking all at once in their own languages. Science Officer Daniel Rodriguez was recording everything. "This is unprecedented," he said to Commander Eric. "No one has ever made peaceful contact with a Cravashi before." The Cravashi allowed Greg to continue touching its leg for almost a minute. Then it slowly pulled back and stood up again. Greg remained sitting, not wanting to seem threatening. The creature looked at him for a long moment with all four eyes. Then it turned and walked calmly back through the door it had come from. Greg stayed where he was until the door closed. Then he slowly got to his feet. "Greg," Commander Eric's voice came through his helmet. "Are you okay?" "Yes," Greg said. He was smiling. "I'm better than okay. That was amazing." The meeting room on the USS Intrepid was full. 3 days had passed since Greg's encounter with the Cravashi beast. Representatives from all 7 species of the Xyrelian Alliance were there. The Varrocs stood in the back, their spines flat against their bodies, a sign of disappointment the humans had learned. Captain Allen stood at the front of the room. "We are glad to welcome you all today to discuss what happened at the testing facility. I believe this marks an important moment in our relationship with the Alliance." Ambassador Krell stepped forward. His 4 arms moved in the formal pattern. That meant important business. "The Xyrelian Alliance has carefully reviewed the events of 3 days ago," Krell said. "We have decided to formally recognize interspecies bonding as a unique human capability with diplomatic value." The humans looked at each other, surprised, but pleased. "We have existed in this part of space for thousands of years," Krell continued. "In all that time, we have kept our distance from other life forms. We believed this was the only way to be safe. But humans have shown us another path is possible." The Varrocs leader, Draz, moved forward. He did not look happy, but his voice was respectful. "We set a test we believed could not be passed. We were wrong." The human named Greg showed skill and courage that would honor any Varrocs warrior. Greg nodded to Draz, accepting the compliment silently. A new alien stepped into the center of the room. This was Mira, leader of the Eldar, the oldest species in the Alliance. She rarely spoke at meetings. "For generations," Mira said in a soft voice, "we have struggled with dangerous wildlife on many planets. Animals that attacked our people, destroyed our crops, or threatened our settlements. We fought them or avoided them. It never occurred to us to try to understand them." Science Officer Daniel Rodriguez spoke up. "That's part of human evolution. We learned to work with animals, not just against them. We domesticated many species over thousands of years, some for food, some for work, and some just for companionship." "That is what interests us most," Mira said. "We would like to request human assistance with problematic wildlife on our worlds. We have a particular situation on Eldar Prime with flying creatures that have been attacking our cities. Captain Allen looked thoughtful. We would be honored to help. We could send specialists in animal behavior. Over the next hour, other aliens came forward with similar requests. The blue plant-like alien, Zeph, described ocean creatures that destroyed their underwater farms. The jellyfish aliens talked about small but dangerous insects on their home world. Commander Eric leaned over to Captain Allen. "This is more than just diplomacy now," he whispered. "They really need our help." Later that day, Commander Eric sent a message to Earth. He recommended the creation of a new xenozoological corps to help manage wildlife across the galaxy. It would be a new role for humanity in space, not just explorers or diplomats, but animal experts. That evening, Eric stood in the observation deck looking out at the stars. Lieutenant Samantha joined him. "Quite a week," she said. "First contact, pet diplomacy, and now a whole new mission for humanity." Eric nodded. "It's funny. We spent centuries wondering what we could offer to advanced alien civilizations. Better technology, art, philosophy, but in the end it's something so simple. Our connection to animals." "Not so simple," Samantha said. "Look," she pointed to a corner of the room. Ambassador Krell was sitting on a bench. On his lap was Whiskers the ferret. Very slowly, with two of his four hands, the ambassador was gently petting the small animal. The ferret's eyes were closed, enjoying the attention. "I never thought I'd see that," Eric said quietly. "That's how it starts," Samantha replied. One small connection at a time. As they watched, Ambassador Krell looked up and saw them. For a moment, the alien seemed embarrassed. Then he lifted one hand in the human gesture of greeting, while continuing to pet Whiskers with his other hands. Eric smiled and waved back. Somewhere out in the vastness of space, humans had found their place in the galactic community. Not through war or technology or even diplomacy, but through the simple ancient human skill of making friends with the creatures that shared their universe.